Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and here are the top headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The US dollar soars and stocks plunge across the world after US President Donald Trump puts pen to paper on the tariff threat, imposes a 25% additional tax on Canadian and Mexican imports and a 10% additional tax on China. Canada hits back with retaliatory tariffs. Mexico and China vow to do the same. Indian rupee falls to a new low against the dollar, breaching the 87 mark for the first time. Sensex down over 300 points. Mid-caps see sharper cuts. Top bureaucrats play down the threat of US imposing tariffs on India. Finance Secretary says apprehensions are unwarranted. Electronics Secretary says India must build a domestic value chain to insulate itself. That's an exclusive. Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Secy says there is a need to recalibrate the RBI discussion paper on cryptocurrencies, which it flagged it as a huge risk to financial stability. Says several jurisdictions have changed their positions on crypto assets. Government does not want money locked up, says Financial Services Secretary on the RBI's new liquidity coverage ratio rules, which kick in from the 1st of April. Says government has conveyed its views to the RBI and it is yet to hear back on the matter. DPAM Secretary Arunish Chawla highlights a calibrated asset monetization approach when it comes to public sector units, says the sector must become competitive and ensure that dividends flow consistently to all shareholders, especially minority shareholders, adds that the government will help BSNL and MTNL monetize their land assets in FY26. The new direct tax code will only have half the text of the current law, and words like assessment year will vanish, says Revenue Secretary. The CBDT chairman says the new legislation will be simpler, inspired by similar exercises in the UK and Australia. India is on track to sign the largest number of contracts, as the Defense Secretary adds that India is willing to procure more from the United States if they meet requirements on quality and indigenization. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman will visit India soon and is expected to meet Prime Minister Modi, says MeitY Secretary, refuses to rule out a collaboration with the AI company, but insists that Indian models must be built on open source platforms. Shares of oil marketing companies slide after no mention of LPG subsidy in the budget, but Petroleum Minister Puri says government is committed to compensating the losses, which is more than 29,000 crore rupees in the first 9 months of this fiscal. Rahul Gandhi targets the government's economic policy in Parliament, says the Make in India initiative has failed and alleges that Chinese troops are sitting inside Indian territory. BJP hits back as Lok Sabha sees heated exchanges. Volkswagen India challenges tax demand of $1.4 billion before the Bombay High Court, says the company will avail all the legal remedies against the tax demand. Loudspeakers go silent as campaigning for the Delhi Assembly elections come to an end. Voting will take place across all 70 constituencies on the 5th of February. AAP, BJP and Congress are locked in a three-cornered race. Results on the 8th of February. The top story this evening, US President Donald Trump has kicked off yet another trade war. The US has imposed 25% additional taxes on imports from Canada and Mexico. Chinese imports have been hit with an additional tax of 10%. Canada has already retaliated with its own tariffs on US imports. Mexico and China have also promised to respond in kind. Trump has also threatened to impose tariffs on the European Union next, and the EU has also vowed to retaliate. All this has roiled stock markets worldwide, with Wall Street plunging at opening bell. From Asia to Europe, stocks got battered as investors come to grips with the potential consequences of an all-out trade war. The US dollar surged in trade, sending emerging market currencies into a tizzy. Here's a report on what promises to be another round of a trade war and its potential ramifications for the global economy.
Canada will be responding to the US trade action with 25% tariffs.
Canada and Mexico announced plans on Saturday to tax U.S. goods in retaliation to sweeping new 25% tariffs ordered by U.S. President Donald Trump on imports from their countries.
We subsidize Canada by the tune of about $200 billion a year. And for what? What do we get out of it? We don't get anything out of it. I love the people of Canada. I disagree with the leadership of Canada. And something's going to happen there. Mexico, we've had very good talks with them. And this is retaliatory. This is retaliatory to a certain extent. Millions of people flowed into our country through Mexico and Canada. And we're not going to allow that.
It's a move economists say could lead to a trade war that risks reigniting inflation, with Trump also ordering a 10% tax on products from China. At a news conference, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said his country's tariffs on the US would be similarly far-reaching, including everyday goods and consumer products.
Tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you, including food at the grocery store, gas at the pump.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said she's ordered her economy minister to bring in tariff and non-tariff measures to defend her country's interests without giving details.
This measure of 25% tariffs has effects for both countries, but it has very serious effects for the economy of the United States, as it's going to greatly increase the cost of all products that are exported from Mexico to the United States. It's going to have 25% more cost. I also say that if they want to act, they should not set their sights on Mexico, but on their own country, where they have done nothing to stop the illegal sale of fentanyl and other drugs.
The United States is by far Mexico's most important foreign market, while Mexico overtook China in 2023 as the top destination for US exports. In contrast to Canada and Mexico's direct retaliations, China gave a toned-down response on Sunday. The Chinese government denounced Trump's trade action, but left the door open for talks with Washington that could avoid a deepening conflict.
Meanwhile, top government bureaucrats have played down the threat of US imposing tariffs on India. Finance Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey told CNBC TV18 at the budget verdict program that the apprehensions are unwarranted, added that India has already streamlined its tariffs. Electronics Secretary S. Krishnan feels that India must build a domestic value chain to insulate itself. Take a look.
We should not really anticipate something which is not really stated. The kind of thing which you say, tariff against India. This has not been stated. I mean, if the US admin or anybody has not really stated, so why should we really be saying so? So that will be premature and not warranted, because, these are different grounds on which the tariff is being put in. So far as we are concerned, we are a very open economy. If you really look at the US imports into India, most of them are into a very, the tariffs are very low. They're in the range of, up to 10%. They are in 2.5 category, they are 0 category, 0%, 5%, 7.5, 10. Incidentally, if you look at our industrial goods, out of 8,400 odd tariff lines, 6,000 tariff lines are already below 100, close to the ASEAN rates. And these are MFN rates, which are equally applicable to US as well. So therefore, India is not protectionist and neither intends to be protectionist. And therefore, I would say that this is an apprehension which is probably.
I think it's right now a wait and watch perspective. I mean, on the one hand, straight away you could say that it might be advantageous to us because tariffs may come down more heavily on other trade rivals, so there could be that issue. But if you look at it from another perspective, you could have a scenario where if the sourcing is from the same country, then will you have a problem in further exports? So we are not yet clear as to how this will play out, and we need to be prepared for all scenarios. I think there is reason for hope, and I think there is reason to assume that electronics as an export from India, which has suddenly become very big in especially what we send out to the US, we need to sort of ensure that we build the domestic value chain more significantly and increase domestic value add so that we protect ourselves against any possible pushback on the value addition point of what happens in India.
Trump's tariffs also weighed on the Indian rupee. The currency has fallen to a new low against the dollar, breaching the 87 mark for the first time. Lata Venkatesh is here with more. Lata?
Well, the rupee had to adjust because it was a global synchronized fall of all currencies versus the dollar. Dollar went up 1.25% from its Friday closing levels all the way to, almost 110, 109.7 thereabouts. So all currencies fell between 0.5% and 1%. And obviously, offshore traders simply adjusted the rupee to the new level. That's the uncertainty in the market as to what will happen in terms of trade, who are the winners, who are the losers, typically creates a flight to safe haven. So it flees from emerging market, smart money that is, flees from emerging market assets and goes towards so-called safe assets, which is dollar and gold. And both of them surged. Now, the rupee at one point in time when the RBI had a hands-off approach because they knew that it would adjust to the new global rhythm, the rupee went all the way down to 87.29. That's a fall of about 0.75%. Very, very rare that the rupee moves so much. But at that point, the Reserve Bank came in, after the first 45 minutes, 1 hour of trading. And then there has been relative stability, and the rupee even went to a high of about 87.09. Clearly, now the rupee is trying to find a new support level. And we will have to see. It will be a very, very dynamic world. So no one is ready to call an immediate number. I mean, 87.5 will come. But what happens tomorrow, day after, depends so much on the global trade and tariff announcement from President Trump. All that dealers tell us is that this year there will be two-way movement of the rupee. It may go towards 88, but it may also come back towards 86. And more generally, the rupee will outperform other Asian currencies because we are a better growth story. But there is an immediate fall because at the moment, the growth story is not that bright. That's the message we got from dealers.
Right, Lata. Many thanks for those details. Now, US President Trump's tariffs also pushed Bitcoin to a 3-week low. The cryptocurrency is now close to the $93,000 mark. Ethereum saw an even steeper drop of 24%, hitting its lowest level since September. Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Seth told CNBC TV18 that there is a need to recalibrate the RBI discussion paper, said several jurisdictions have changed their positions on crypto assets. Take a look.
Cryptocurrency, as we are aware, we have done a discussion paper, including at the senior level participation from the Reserve Bank of India. And the committee had finalized the discussion paper. But thereafter, we find that when it was about to be issued, that several jurisdictions, and you named one, but more than one jurisdictions have changed their position on crypto assets in terms of their scope, where they see the utility. We are recalibrating the paper because the purpose of that paper is to pose the right questions to the stakeholders so that we get the right answers in terms of an appropriate answer to inform our policy making.
Now to the stock market action back home. Sensex and Nifty declined by 0.5%. Sensex was down over 300 points. Nifty was down over 120 points. Mid-cap saw even sharper cuts, with that index falling nearly 500 points. DPAM Secretary Arunish Chawla highlights a calibrated asset monetization approach when it comes to public sector units. He also said that government hopes to monetize land assets of BSNL and MTNL in FY26. Revenue Secretary Tuin Kanta Pandey said the PSU dividend strategy is aimed at being consistent and not maximization of revenue.
Really look at the dividend, as Arunish mentioned, we are looking at consistent dividend, not maximization of dividend. Because if you maximize the dividend, you basically evacuate the money out, and then it doesn't help for growth of the company. So there is a consistent dividend policy, and consistently also the targets of dividend are being met.
We are going to help MTNL and BSNL in monetizing whatever assets they have so that the value that is locked in can be redeployed, the liability is cleared, and we can re-energize the sector.
And do you expect that to go through within this in the next financial year, FY26?
Touch wood.
Touch wood. Okay, that's an important headline.
The government does not want money locked up, says Financial Services Secretary on the RBI's new liquidity coverage ratio rules, which kick in from the 1st of April. Financial Services Secretary M. Nagaraju says government has conveyed its views to the RBI and it is yet to hear back on the matter.
Not going to second guess the RBI, but RBI has issued the draft, and we have conveyed our views on that. Now they have not issued the final draft, the regulations. We want to we don't want to lock up a lot of capital into this kind of ideal situation. So we have expressed our views based on the feedback we received from the industry. Okay. Now the RBI has not issued. So let us put a full stop there.
The new direct tax code will only have half the text of the current law, and words like assessment year will vanish, says Revenue Secretary. The CBDT chairman says the new legislation will be simpler, inspired by similar exercises in the UK and Australia. The new law is scheduled to be introduced in the Parliament this week.
You know, we are making a very sincere attempt. This particular thing, in other sovereigns also, this has been attempted. Some people have taken years, 4 years, 5 years, to change the new law, to rewrite the law. We had some groundwork earlier in some committees, yes, which they did the work. But this work, this piece of the work, bringing it has been done in about 6 months. So, obviously, you know, while we will say that we have done a great job, we don't know. I mean, so we have to, the suspense is, the jury will still be out.
Yes, the jury is out and we'll have to wait for you to actually bring the bill.
But what I can say is that the words will be halved, chapters will be halved.
As a result of this entire exercise in this 6 months, the act has been now, the proposed act would be about half. I would not say exactly half, but it will be about half. It will be about half because we have to take care of different situations, you see. The shift in approach is that, well, we have taken some provisions which were elaborated in the base act to the rules also. And also we took inspiration from the similar exercise which was done in other sovereigns. For example, UK, Australia.
India is on track to sign the largest number of contracts, says the Union Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh. He also said that the government needs to ensure that contracts triple compared to last year. When asked about Donald Trump's message asking India to buy more defence equipment from the US, Defence Secretary said India is willing to procure more from the United States if they meet requirements and on quality and indigenization.
We are on pace right now to sign the largest number of contracts ever in our history. Okay. The largest last year was another high of 1,08,000 crores. This year we've already hit 1,15,000, and my intent is to double last year's number before the end of this financial year, and the result in terms of expenditure will follow thereafter.
So doubling by the end of this financial year, sir?
Yes, I intend to cross 2 lakh crores and maybe even more. And we intend to ensure that order books are full across the board in the defense industry so that everybody has visibility, everybody from the OEMs down to the component manufacturers, that their order books are full for the next 4 to 5 years and everybody is on the same page when it comes. We do have some procurements which are on the anvil where American companies would be in the picture. And as long as they are able to meet our requirements in terms of quality and in terms of certain levels of indigenization, of course we'll be, those are carrots that we will be able to dangle before the Americans. We are already, meeting a good proportion of our requirements from capable American companies, and we intend to continue doing so. There will be significant buys, and some of that will go to the US as well.
Shares of oil marketing companies continued to fall in trade after the union budget did not include compensation for LPG under recoveries. But Petroleum Minister Puri says government is committed to compensating the losses, which is more than 29,000 crore rupees in the first 9 months of this fiscal.
Very clearly, we are committed to that. Even when we got it from 28,000 crores, there was an under-recovery on LPG. We gave them 22,000 crores. You don't need to make a budgetary provision. We can go to the finance ministry. Otherwise, if somebody behaves like a good corporate citizen in the OMCs and they've had under-recovery, we will compensate them. We are committed to that.
Also, the subsidy for PM Ujjwala has trended down, what we have witnessed so far, despite an increase in the number of beneficiaries. Also, do you feel there is going to be an increase in discretionary spend post the budget?
No, there is going to be enough provision for both LPG and that. Don't worry about it at all. You see, two things are happening. Insofar as natural gas is concerned, prices are coming down. Insofar as LPG, which is a product of a refinery, etc., we will look at that. There's no issue of no anxiety on that score.
Auto major Skoda Auto Volkswagen India has moved the Bombay High Court against a $1.4 billion tax demand that was issued by the government. The company told CNBC TV18 that it was considering all legal remedies in response to the show cause notice as permitted under the law. They added that company will ensure full compliance with the laws and are fully cooperating with the authorities on this matter. The head of India's indirect tax authority was tight-lipped when asked about the Volkswagen issue.
A time limit has been set for finalization of provisional assessment. That will be providing a lot of certainty to the trade and will reduce the litigation. If you see, you mentioned about the Skoda case, Volkswagen case. I will not be going into the merit of the case because the matter is sub judice before the High Court. But I can say one thing, that earlier there was no time limit of finalization of provisional assessment. In that case, the provisional assessment remained pending for a very long time. Therefore, the demand is for a very longish period. So those kind of situations will not arise in future.
With that, it's time for us to head into a short break. But coming up on India Business Hour, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman will visit India soon and is expected to meet Prime Minister Modi, says METI Secretary. More details in just a bit. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on India Business Hour. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi has targeted the government's economic policy in Parliament. He said that the Make in India initiative has failed and alleged that Chinese troops are sitting inside Indian territory. BJP hit back as Lok Sabha sees heated exchanges.
The fact of the matter is that wars are fought by industrial systems. The fact of the matter is that China has an industrial system that is far stronger, far bigger than our industrial system. And that is why they have the guts to come inside this country. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because Make in India has failed. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because India is refusing to produce. And I'm worried that India is going to give up this revolution to the Chinese once again.
विरोध की कोई गरिमा होगी या नहीं होगी, और ये सवाल मैं बड़ी जिम्मेदारी से इस सदन में आज रखना चाहता हूं। महामहिम राष्ट्रपति के उस दिन के उद्बोधन के बाद एक विपक्ष की बड़ी पार्टी की बड़ी नेत्री ने क्या कहा उनके बारे में? पुअर लेडी, ये शब्द है क्या? क्या मतलब है इसका? आज मैं बहुत गंभीरता से ये विषय उठाना चाहता हूं।
SoftBank and OpenAI have joined hands to offer AI services to corporate customers in Japan. The joint venture, SB OpenAI Japan, will be owned by OpenAI and a company established by SoftBank. The Japanese firm is reportedly looking to invest between $15 to $25 billion in the US-based company. Speaking to CNBC TV18, METI Secretary said that Altman is expected to meet Prime Minister Modi. However, he refused to rule out a collaboration with the AI company, but insisted that Indian models must be built on open source platforms.
He is expected to visit New Delhi, and he is expected to meet hopefully the Prime Minister or the Minister for Electronics. We presume it is to discuss on, what OpenAI can do for India and the kind of applications of OpenAI in the country, and how well India is equipped and what we can do to benefit from this.
The Supreme Court has ordered a forensic audit of audio tapes which allegedly recorded statements by Manipur Chief Minister Biren Singh suggesting state's involvement in the ethnic violence. The Apex Court also told the Central Forensic Lab to submit the report in a sealed cover. The Supreme Court has termed the Mahakumbh stampede as an unfortunate incident. However, the Apex Court rejected a plea seeking an investigation into the matter. The court asked the petitioner to approach the Allahabad High Court as a judicial commission has already been constituted. Loudspeakers go silent as campaigning for the Delhi Assembly election comes to an end. The voting will take place across all 70 constituencies on the 5th of February. Results will be declared on the 8th of February. And before we wrap, here's a quick wrap of the 67th Grammy Awards. Beyoncé got her first Album of the Year win for her album Cowboy Carter. Kendrick Lamar won the most awards, including Record and Song of the Year for Not Like Us. Sabrina Carpenter took home Best Pop Solo and Pop Vocal Album of the Year for her song Espresso and album Short and Sweet. Good Luck Babe fame Chappelle Roan was awarded with the Best New Artist title. And finally, Indian origin musician Chandrika Tandon's Triveni emerged as the winner in the Best New Age Ambient or Chant Album category. And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. More news continues right here on CNBC TV18.